reporters babble Trump, tether crop, look at that low plane. Fine, then, overflow, population common food, but it'll do. Save yourself, serve yourself, world serves its own needs. Listen to your heartbeat, dummy with the rapture and the reverend and the right. You patriotic, slam fight, bright light, feeling pretty sight. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. 6 o'clock, TV hour, don't get caught in foreign tower, slash and burn, return. Listen to yourself churn. Locking in, uniform and book, burning blood, letting every motive escalate. Automotive, incinerate, light a candle, light a motor, step down, watching heel, crush, this means no fear, cavalier, renegade, steer clear, a tournament of lies. Offer me solutions, offer me alternatives, and I decline. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. The other night I drifted nice, continental drift divide, mountain sit in a line, Leonard Bernstein, Leonard Brezhnev, Lenny Bruce and Lester Banks, birthday party, cheesecake, jelly bean, boom, you symbiotic, patriotic, slam button, that, right? It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine.
Yes, I feel fine. Welcome, Doomsters and everyone. It is another episode of Music for the End of the World. And I'm flying solo tonight. It is just me, Chris, here in the studio. I'm just playing some tunes that I really enjoy. Not from any particular decade or anything like that. And I'll be going through a little bit of an update in the last week of what's been happening in the collapse world, and hopefully have time. I want to talk a little bit about another article from Adrian Lambert. I've spoken about an article he wrote before. This one is called His Grand Unified Theory of Doom, The Truth About Collapse Acceptance. The reality of coming to terms with the end of industrial civilization. So, talk a little bit about that. I'll probably be talking about it next week as well with Cass, because it is quite a lengthy article and won't be able to get through it all tonight. As far as what's been happening in the world of collapse, well, many things. I think the big one, well, I mean, they're all big, aren't they? But this is, I spoke a little bit about, mentioned it last week, about Tehran the capital of Iran, which has about 9-10 million people, I think in its whole suburban area, giving a total of 15 million people, will probably have to be relocated. And the Iranian government's been considering plans for this for years now because they have run out of water. Its reservoirs are dry and it is sinking. And this is likely to be a harbinger of the abandonment of many major cities throughout the world because of drought. I know in Turkey there's a few cities over there which are in trouble. Flooding, fire or other climate-related events. That's, I think the article was saying that Iran spends 90% of its water on low-yield agriculture, which just exacerbates drought. So now the authorities are scrambling to provide drinking water across Iran, particularly in Tehran. If there's no rain by next month, they say water will have to be rationed, and in fact, maybe even evacuated, the President Masoud Pezeshkian said in a speech on Friday. It's pretty indicative, really, of the mammoth burden facing this country of 90 million. Plus it's under all these sanctions too, thanks to Israel and America. Because it's the sixth consecutive year of drought for Iran. And while also not only drought, but heat waves, above 50 degrees Celsius during the summer. And this past year was one of the driest on record. With this year shaping up to be the worst. With Iran receiving only 2.3 mils of precipitation by early November this year, down 81% compared with its historical average. A whopping 19 dams, up from 9 3 weeks ago, are on the verge of drying out, filled to less than 5% capacity. They've got lots and lots of things. And most of the 5 major dams feeding Tehran from the nearby mountain ranges, because of course the glaciers are disappearing, are extremely low capacity. So, and there's no improvement in sight. It's looking fairly dire. Istanbul's reservoirs have dropped to about 20%, down from 37% in 2019. Now they're shifting their emphasis to drip irrigation, but it's come a little bit too late. And electricity generation for the metro area is moving towards a crisis point in Istanbul. And scientists have just confirmed, closer to home, the death of 2 of Ningaloo's 3 coral reefs, which are over there in WA. Just like the Great Barrier Reef, it's on the way out as well. And then we saw strong Arctic temperature anomalies up to about 20 degrees Celsius in some places. Data indicates that October was the Arctic's warmest on record, which means, of course, the Arctic sea ice is extremely low. And with scientists predicting La Nina fading out early next year and La Nina coming in then, the US government is preparing to cut regulations in the Endangered Species Act also. And so critics say that this will hasten the future of many, many species. Yep. And of course, let's not forget the complete waste of time of the COP30. What a load of bollocks that is. They didn't do anything. And I don't think, I've been reading this, the report doesn't even mention fossil fuels. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the US didn't even send a negotiator there. They tripled funding for developing countries, but as they said, most of the developing countries haven't received most of the money from the last COP, let alone this one. So it's a complete waste of time, really. And they bulldozed a 6-lane highway through the Amazon to get there. I mean, jeez. Okay, let's have a song straight up. Now, these songs are just ones that I really, really like. And I'm just playing. I've got a whole bunch. I don't know if I get through all of them. But here's one anyway. This is the old one from Van Morrison. I think, is it his first album? First solo album? Or Blowing Your Mind anyway. And it is Who Drove the Red Sports Car?
Who drove the red sports car from the mansion and lit upon the grass in summertime? And who done me out high time fashion and made me read between the lines? And who said, follow the man, your only child, sit on your throne, you gotta make it on your own, on your own. And who said, look at you, look at you, you got jam on your face? And who did your homework and read your Bible and signed your name every place? And who said, fortunes untold, don't go back, go, you must better know, you gotta make it on your own, on your own. And do you remember this time? It's a long time ago. When I came walking down, I came walking down by Maggie's place. It started coming on rain. It started coming on rain. 'Cause I had nothing on but a shirt and a pair of pants, and I was getting wet. I was getting wet. Saturated, man. And Maggie opened up the window, and Jane swung out her right arm. She said hi. I said hi. How you doing, baby? She said, come on and out the rain. Come on and out the rain. Love, come on and out the rain. I got caught. Got a bag. Oh Lord. I said, I don't mind if I do. I don't mind if I do. That's a bag. You know what I mean? Now you gotta, sort of turn it upside down, something like put it in a rack, fold it, press it, call it a record or something like that.
Need a broken window fixed, glass doors or shower screen? For all types of glass replacement or mirrors cut to size, call Bega Valley Glass on 0417 545 498. For prompt service, whether domestic or commercial, Bega Valley Glass are the experts. Remember, call Corgi on 0417 545 498 for all your glass requirements. Bega Valley Glass, sponsor 93.7 Edge FM.
This summer, for all your snake problems, ring Phil from Reptile Rescue and Relocation Service, your local licensed snake handler, on 0423 623 975. Phil is available 24 hours, 7 days a week, covering Eden to Bermagui and surrounds. His prices are reasonable and pensioner discount is available. For all your snake problems, call Phil, the Snake Man, from Reptile Rescue and Relocation Service on 0423 623 975. Reptile Rescue and Relocation Service are proud sponsors of 93.7 Edge FM.
Thank you so much, dear sponsors. Okay, back to the show, peeps. Before I get on to Adrian Lambert's article, some more news. And this sort of tells you, I reckon, how things are going to unfold. When we were talking about last week with Luke about when will things get ugly and how will they get ugly for you right here. And this is as the world's cooking, overheating, states, nations are closing their doors to climate refugees and migrants and sending some back, or at least out, not in the country. The EU is planning to triple its border budget by 2034, and the UK is clamping down on asylum claimants. The US is accelerating internal operations to deport people, as we all know, and intimidate others after recently turbocharging funding. So you can see how things are going to be unfurling. I think it's just going to get worse and worse. And that's not even mentioning the Arctic, the warming of the Arctic and the loss of the ice. The permafrost now, apparently all that melting permafrost, according to a study by scientists, are creating new routes for pollution to travel. And that is accelerating. So they've got all these contaminants that have been frozen, sitting in the permafrost. They've sat immobile and frozen for decades or hundreds of years. And then as the layer thaws, the permafrost degrades, you're creating new groundwater pathways that allow the contaminants to be mobilised and transported. The simulations that the scientists have run showed a feedback loop where increased groundwater movement contributes to further thawing, which in turn accelerates discharge and deepens the active layer. As we know, all of these multipliers and tipping points are all happening in overshoot. Food prices rising in Kenya. They've got massive droughts. And then the impact, another study showed about the impact of microplastics in mice and found that exposure to microplastics increases atherosclerosis risks. And another study found microplastics in 100% of donkey feces sampled on a Kenyan island. And apparently there's this new blood clearing treatment, asphyrosis, which is becoming more popular amongst the super rich people, as they begin dramatic and expensive interventions to clean their blood of microplastics. There you go. That's another thing for the rich people to do. They have a super yacht, probably carry, what's his name? James Packer and his super yacht over there in Fiji. He's probably getting it done to him now. So it's all happening. All right. Back to Adrian's article. So he writes about it really, really well, and about how you come to the acceptance of collapse. And his first part is the break between awareness and acceptance. So he writes that there's a moment in collapse awareness that people rarely describe with clarity. And it's not the moment that you learn the facts. Most collapse aware people begin with material that sits across disciplines, the ecological overshoot, or the fall in energy returns on energy invested, or the fragility of global systems, or the steady erosion of economic and social complexity. And none of this is really especially complicated when you see the pattern. It's uncomfortable, but it's fairly clear to understand. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand ecological overshoot. And for a time, this remains a cognitive structure. And then you study the work of a whole bunch like Bill Rees or Tainter or Catton or a whole bunch of people. And you read widely, you see how the pieces lock together, and the world becomes legible in a way that it wasn't before. And many assume that this emotional transformation begins here at the point of comprehension. And it does in part. But Adrian goes on to say that another rupture begins later, often quietly, as the framework that you've built about what's happening starts to settle into your inner life. And something changes in how you experience the world. You stop imagining the future in the same way. So the long, confident trajectory that you inherited from childhood becomes a little bit fragile and uncertain. And awareness is the cognitive realization that industrial civilization is entering contraction and demise. Acceptance is a psychological recognition that the worldview you lived in, that lived inside you, no longer exists, no longer holds. So the first is information, and the second is transformation, according to Adrian. And he writes this distinction matters because collapse is not only material or ecological, it is also existential. When your worldview dissolves, the collapse stops being abstract. It stops being a theoretical thing that you read about or watch on YouTube, and it becomes personal. And the story that shaped your identity then loses coherence. What feels like the world cracking is often the loss of the architecture that kept your existential fear at a distance. And you begin to live with a sense that something has ended, even if you cannot yet name what it is. And this is the beginning of collapse acceptance. It begins with the death of a story and with a loss of your inner self shaped by that story. Because, we all grow up thinking, yes, we'll grow up, maybe we might have a family, maybe we might have kids, and they'll go on, and then we'll die, and they'll keep going, and so on and so on. But when you accept it, that changes. And so modern industrial civilization is built on a cultural story that shapes almost everything. It assumes that progress is normal, that growth is natural, and that the future will be larger and more comfortable than the past. We've all, my generation anyway, has grown up with that. And this story, this narrative lives in education and economics and media and family life, even personal identity. And it becomes so familiar that most people don't even recognise it as just a story, as something which we have created. It just seems so natural. But what is often missed is that this worldview performs a psychological function. It protects individuals from the awareness of mortality, of our own mortality. Terror management theory, Adrian writes, describes how cultural worldviews buffer existential fear by creating shared systems of meaning, of continuity and purpose. And these systems place people inside a symbolic order that makes life feel coherent. It helps us cope with life. And they offer a sense of belonging within a story that extends beyond individual experience. So this progress narrative performed this role effortlessly. It softened the presence of mortality. It told you your life was part of a bigger project that will continue beyond you. It allowed you to imagine a future that felt safe and open. It made the finite bearable by embedding you inside an upward movement that would outlast you. But collapse awareness tears right through that protection. The story fails, and the self that lived inside it begins to lose its anchor. And that's why, he says, early collapse grief feels so disorientating. You assume you're grieving the living world, and you are, but there is something quieter underneath. You're grieving the worldview that once held your life together. It's your whole basis which you're grieving. You're grieving the meaning structure that protected you from your own finite life. You're grieving the self that lived inside that structure. That's when you know that you really have realised our reality. And this is the part that many collapse writers rarely describe, he says. The worldview inside you dies before the civilization dies around you. And I've got to say, I reckon he's fairly spot on. Okay, that's the first part of it. That's just the beginning. That's just the introduction. Time for another one of my songs. I've got a whole bunch of songs here. What are we going to do? Oh, I think we'll do this one. A little bit of Celtic punk. Here is Enter the Haggis. And what a fitting song, Gasoline, which is part of our undoing. Enter the Haggis.
Outside around the side, form a circle forward. I'm an outside around the side, formerly a farm boy. Inside, I'm on the side, undivided, undecided. Back then around again, second time's a charm boy. Smokestack cigarettes, polish on the details. I try to stay inside, heights and ears and curtains closed, and they lie on the sides, casualties of retail. Back then the earth was green, dirt was black and the air was clean, and then upon the scene, cars and trucks and gasoline. Inside I'm petrified, I don't wanna hide it anymore. Which way I lean? Hey mister, what does it mean? He said cars and trucks need gasoline. Outside around the side, form a circle forward. I'm an outsider on the side, formerly a farm boy. Inside I'm on the side, undivided, undecided. Back then around again, second time's a charm boy.
Oh, yeah, Enter the Haggis. Celtic punk sound, love it. That was Gasoline. I liked it so much, I think I need to do one more song. Now, this song is, I've played it before, Steve Harley, but this is the best version, I think, which is done years after. I think he was in the 70s, Steve Harley, when he came out, Make Me Smile, but then he was on Rockwiz, and he did a version on Rockwiz, which I think is the premier version. So here is Steve Harley with the Rockwiz band, Come Up and See Me, Make Me Smile.
2, 3, 4.
You've done it all, broken every code, brought the rebel to the floor. You spot the game, no matter what you say. For only metal, what a bore. Blue eyes, blue eyes, how come you tell so many lies? Whoa, come up and see me, make me smile. Do what you want, running wild. There's nothing left, he's all gone, run away. Maybe you'll tarry for a while. It's just a test, a game for us to play. Win or lose, it's hard to smile. Resist, resist. It's from yourself, but you have to hide. Whoa, come up and see me, make me smile. I do what you want, running wild. There ain't no more. You take on everything from my belief in motherhood. How come you ignore my faith in everything? I know what faith is and what it's worth. Away, away. Don't say, maybe you'll try. Whoa, come up and see me, smile. Do what you want, running wild. Oh, la, 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 la. Ooh, la, la. Ooh, la, 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 la. Come up and see me, smile. I'll do what you want, running wild. Oh, come up and see me, make me smile. Oh, I'll do what you want, running wild.
Oh, yeah, what a version. That's a great, I love it. Fantastic. Okay, you're listening to 93.7 Edge of Ab here. on music for the end of the world, and we have a few more very important sponsor announcements.
Better Home Living Bega is the only place to shop for all your electrical appliances. With a huge showroom boasting a great range of white goods, televisions, small appliances, and a fantastic cooking showroom with all the big brands. Plus, they're also an Apple reseller and Weber barbecue specialist and a Jaycar stockist. Call in and see the experienced staff or shop online at better.com.au. Better Home Living Bega, 95 Auckland Street, Bega. Proud sponsors of Edge FM.
Bega Valley says no to domestic violence. Local people speak out during 16 days of activism against gendered violence.
Do something, because doing nothing causes more harm. It is your choice to use violence. Step up and make the right choice, and become a person that your children will be proud of.
1-800-RESPECT is the National Domestic, Family and Sexual Violence Counselling, Information and Support Service. If you or someone you know is experiencing or at risk of experiencing domestic, family or sexual violence, call 1-800-737-732, text 0458 737 732 or visit www.1800respect.org.au for online chat and video call services.
Yes, an important announcement. And I know that the number goes pretty quick on the announcement. So if you will be playing this particular announcement quite often in the next couple of weeks, but you can always contact the station if you need to get the number if it's going too fast for you to jot it down. All right. Back to Adrian Lambert's article about accepting collapse. So, we're talking about how first it is information and then you experience a transformation where the world that you thought you knew that you lived your life in regards to is completely different. And he calls it the rupture. So the death of a worldview is rarely dramatic, he says. It happens slowly and then all at once. You begin noticing that certain assumptions no longer feel true. Optimism feels performative. Conversations built on continuity sound ridiculous. The future loses shape. Events in the world strike you differently. You sense fragility in systems that once seemed strong. You see the inexorable dissipation of energy. You see entropy everywhere. That's why it's really hard talking to people with young kids and they're talking about, they're going to grow up and become a doctor and blah, blah, blah. And it's, it's very difficult. You do not choose to abandon this worldview. Adrian says it simply stops describing the world and the lived reality. And this rupture creates disorientation. You begin to feel misaligned with people around you. Not emotionally, but existentially. So you no longer inhabit the expectations that organise their lives. You withdraw from certain conversations. You stop being able to project yourself into imagined futures. The goals that once motivated you lose their charge, and the self that you carried through adulthood begins to disappear. And this is the start of psychological death. Not despair, not collapse, it's just a shedding. Because most people are living with cognitive dissonance, where they're living their lives, but the world, the reality around them doesn't match that inner story. And he goes on to say that this death is not inherently positive. People sometimes describe collapse acceptance as if it is a movement towards clarity or maturity. The first stage doesn't feel like that. The first stage can feel like diminishment. You lose your worldview. You lose the identity built inside you. You lose the imagined future that gave your life shape. And you begin noticing the effects in your relationships. The divergence is subtle but undeniable. People you love still inhabit the continuity story. They can understand the facts but not feel the worldview dissolving. They still rely on assumptions that you can no longer inhabit. You have changed, and the change is not reversible. Once you cross over into the true reality, there is no going back. This is the threshold, he says. This is where acceptance begins, not with clarity, but with loss. And then he goes on to talk about collapse grief, which is often misunderstood as environmental despair or anxiety about the future. But it does contain those elements a little bit, but collapse grief reaches deeper. It begins with the world inside you, our inner narrative. Meaning becomes unstable first, not the idea of meaning, but the lived structure that connects your inner life with the external world. So you're shedding that cognitive dissonance. Meaning is the implicit framework that helps you understand where you are in time, what matters, how to make decisions, what to expect from life. And when that worldview collapses, that framework wobbles and the world feels slightly off axis, even when nothing around you has visibly changed. You feel a little bit unanchored within your own life. And this grief is not easily named. It can rise long before you understand why you feel it. You may think the grief is about ecosystems or biodiversity loss or political dysfunction or the future facing your children. And it is. But deeper down is another grief, and this grief emerges from the dissolution of the worldview that held your existential fear at a distance. The world has not only changed, the internal architecture that made the world feel coherent inside you has fallen apart. Terror management theory makes this legible. It shows that cultural worldviews protect people from the awareness of mortality by embedding them in systems of meaning, belonging and significance. All narratives created by Homo sapiens. So when the worldview collapses, the insulation dissolves and mortality becomes perceptible again, not as a panic, but as a quiet and continuous presence. And you feel the proximity of the finiteness in ordinary moments. You think you are grieving the world, but you are also grieving the worldview that once protected you. And this grief, Adrian writes, is not a failure of resilience. It is a proportionate response to seeing reality clearly. It marks the beginning of the transformation that collapse acceptance requires. You aren't falling apart. You are losing the story that held you together. Something is dying so something else can take form. It's a really interesting idea, and I've got to say, for myself, I think it's fairly close to the mark. Because it's easy to look at the information, get all the facts, but it's that realising that your narrative that you've lived your whole life towards, progress and society and all that sort of stuff, is gone, and you need a new one. As I said, this is only the beginning of the article, so we'll definitely be talking about next year. I think it's time for another song, and I might do a very short one. And no, it's not the Gimmies. This is an instrumental. One of my favourite film score, what do you call them? Film score composers. Ennio Morricone. Yes, that is Ennio Morricone, and of course, it is the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Great tune. Okay, oh my gosh. All right, I can read one more last part of Adrian Lambert's article, and we will continue on with it next week. And the next part is called, we're talking about how you're shedding, or your worldview, your inner view is gone. It's called The Death of the Symbolic Self. So the symbolic self, Adrian writes, is the identity that you construct within a worldview. It shapes your expectations of adulthood, your ambitions, your beliefs about success, your understanding of your place in the world. It is a self built on continuity and the assumption of an open future, as we have all lived our lives like that. When the worldview collapses, the symbolic self begins to die. And it's not metaphorical, but a psychological structure. The death does not feel like liberation. It feels like contraction. You lose your old ambitions because they belong to a future that no longer exists. Your identity feels like it's fading because it was tied to assumptions that have dissolved. You stop relating to goals and values that were shaped inside the progress narrative that we all are indoctrinated with. You recognise that the person you once were was sustained by a worldview that has now ended. This death is permanent. You can't return to the self who believed in continuity. The transformation is irreversible. And it's also not inherently positive. People often romanticise collapse acceptance as clarity or moral awakening. And the first stage feels nothing like that. It feels like losing altitude. It feels like reduction. It feels like being stripped down, like you are being diminished. The symbolic self dies in stages, and you recognise the loss long before you have language to describe it. And the effects bleed into your relationships. You still love the same people, but you no longer share the inner world that once connected you. They may understand the facts of overshoot and collapse, but they don't feel the interior collapse. They still inhabit the continuity story. Their identity is still held by this worldview that you no longer believe in. He goes on to say that a close friend of mine, for example, he says, often recognises the signals that I point out. She sees the stress in the world. She understands the facts, but she doesn't undergo the interior rupture. She can understand collapse cognitively without experiencing the psychological death that marks acceptance. And this is proof that a collapse acceptance cannot be shared. Awareness can be taught. That's what we do on this show each week, I suppose. But acceptance cannot. That's a personal thing. It's a psychological thing. To reach acceptance, you have to be prepared to do the work, he says. You have to want to live honestly no matter the cost. This asymmetry is one of the most painful parts of collapse maturity. You are becoming someone new, and you cannot be who you were, because then you'll just be, well, most people are, with cognitive dissonance. You are changing while the world around you remains the same. Really interesting. He's a great writer, Adrian. So that's, that's about halfway through the article, I think. So we've still got a fair way to go. And most people, I think, well, most people, educated people would recognise the facts of overshoot, global warming, biodiversity loss, coral reef dying, all this sort of stuff, ocean acidification, but they haven't had that acceptance. They haven't changed their inner world view. And that's what he was talking about there. All right, it is 7:52. Oh, we've got 7:53. 7 more minutes, so I can still play a few more songs. That's good. All right. Well, I think I'm going to have to play this one. And it is from one of my favourite albums, Deja Vu, by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. And this is, for my choice, the pick of the songs. Almost Cut My Hair, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young.
I will now proceed to entangle the entire area.
almost cut my hair. It happened just the other day. It's getting kinda long. I could have said it wasn't my way, but I didn't, and I wonder why. I feel like letting my freak flag fly. Yes, I feel like I owe it to someone. Must be because I had the flu for Christmas, and I'm not feeling up to bar. It increases my paranoia, like looking at my mirror and seeing a police car. But I'm not giving in an inch to fear. Yes, I promised myself this year. I feel like I owe it to someone. When I finally get myself together, I'm going to get down in that sunny southern weather, and I find a place inside the lab, separate the wheat from the chaff. I feel like I owe it to someone, yeah.
I love that. I think David Crosby wrote that song. And 3 guitarists in the band. What could go wrong? Well, they didn't last that long. It's a terrific song, though, from Deja Vu. I almost cut my hair. Well, it is coming up to the end of the show, Doomsters. I have been talking about Adrian Lambert's article. And we will continue about collapse acceptance. We will continue that next week. I think Cass will be back then. But did you know this year, 2025, is on track to be the second warmest year on record after last year? The record, of course, was back in 2016, and then 2024 smashed that. And 2025 is looking to be the second warmest year on record, because that's what the future is, Doomsters, as we know. No cognitive dissonance here in Music for the End of the World. But also in 2025, it's the year that the world finally woke up to glaciers, because on January the 21st this year, the United Nations declared this the International Year of Glaciers Preservation. And March 21st marked the first ever World Glacier Day. Over 200 organisations, 35 countries, UNESCO, scientists, policymakers, communities, all united. And of course, you can see that really carries a lot of weight. Was that mentioned in COP30? Most likely not. I think it's a little bit late to have a World Glacier Day, because the numbers are pretty brutal. About 2 billion people depend on glacier and snowmelt for their water, for their fresh water. And 69% of the Earth's fresh water is stored in the ice caps in the glaciers and permanent snow. And glaciers have lost mass for 36 consecutive years. Between 220 and 270 billion metric tons of glacier ice are lost per year globally. And 5 of the last 6 years recorded the largest global glacier mass losses ever measured. So, so we can declare it, we can recognise it, we can organise conferences in the middle of the Amazon jungle. But unless we speak the truth about ecological overshoot, nothing is going to be done to try and mitigate and slow it down. We can't change it. Of course, we can't change the future, but we can maybe slow it down, make it a little bit fairer for everyone, not just all those billionaires building their massive bunkers, making obscene amounts of wealth at our expense, pumping out CO2. So we'll see. 2025 is the turning point, I reckon. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, Doomsters, that's the show for this week. I'll be back next week. And like I always say, collapse is inevitable, but justice is not. And of course, we haven't had a gimme song, so we'll be going out with the gimmies. It's only a short one and fairly fitting for what we're talking about here at the moment. This is Me First and the Gimme Gimmies with Ain't No Sunshine. And I'll see you all next week, Doomers.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Wonder this time where she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away. And I know, 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 I know,
You gotta leave those things alone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine.